It is possible to heal from this disease. It is possible to get your life back. The reason why I'm so passionate and so excited to bring you this message, if you are a person who has cyclic vomiting syndrome, is because everyone that you trust to take care of you, to lead you, to help you heal, right? Your doctors, the people in the hospital when you have your episodes, the stuff you read online, they're all telling you, oh, you're just gonna have to learn to live with this. Yep, this is your life. This is your life for the rest of your life. And it might get a little easier, but only because you're gonna learn how to live with it, not because it's gonna go away. And I'm here to tell you that that does not have to be the case for you. And I will keep repeating myself by telling you that if I can do it, so can you. Hi beauties, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about how I healed from cyclic vomiting syndrome, also known as CVS. If you have CVS or you know someone who has it, you probably think I'm totally full of it. But no, I bona fide had that disease and now I'm fine. So I know your struggle and I want you to know that if I can do it, so can you. I promise you. I'm going to start by describing to you what it looks like to heal from cyclic vomiting syndrome. And after that, I'll talk about the 3 main pillars that helped me get to this point. It really bears repeating that if I can do it, so can you. So what does the healing process look like? When I search for videos about cyclic vomiting syndrome on YouTube, I have come across 1 or 2 of people saying that they basically kind of healed from one day to the next. And that was not my experience. For me, it was more of a gradual process. I was diagnosed 10 years ago. So over many, many years, it was like a 2 steps forward, 1 step backward kind of process. And the way the healing looked in my case was that the episodes became more and more spaced apart. If you know anything about this disease, it's called cyclical for a reason. It's almost like clockwork. It's freaky. So as my episodes became more spaced out, they were still cyclical, right? They would still happen instead of once every week, they would happen once every month, then they would happen once every few months. Eventually I got to a point where it was once every 6 months. And I even got to a point where it was once every year. But they were still cyclical, like on the dot. When I had gotten to the stage of once a year, it was almost like on the 1-year anniversary, it would happen again. The first phase of healing looks like the spacing of the cycle becoming farther and farther apart. The next step after that is pretty much like the cycle is broken. You still have episodes. And again, I can only speak for myself. I still had episodes, but rather than being cyclical, they were almost triggered by really specific events. And things that used to trigger me wouldn't trigger me as much. So the triggers would have to be really extreme. Still there nonetheless. So the first phase was spacing out between episodes. The second phase was breaking the cycle. Now episodes only happen with really specific, really extreme triggers. The third phase was me having really mild episodes. So basically beginning an episode and being able to stop it in its tracks every time. And then the fourth phase is freedom. I want you to understand that it is possible to heal from this disease. It is possible to get your life back. The reason why I'm so passionate and so excited to bring you this message, if you are a person who has cyclic vomiting syndrome, is because everyone that you trust to take care of you, to lead you, to help you heal, right? Your doctors, the people in the hospital when you have your episodes, everyone, the stuff you read online, they're all telling you, oh, you're just gonna have to learn to live with this. Yep, this is your life. This is your life for the rest of your life. And it might get a little easier, but only because you're gonna learn how to live with it, not because it's gonna go away. And I'm here to tell you that that does not have to be the case for you. And I will keep repeating myself by telling you that if I can do it, so can you. If you would have seen me 10 years ago, forget 10 years ago, that was when I got my diagnosis. If you would have seen me 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, you would look at me right now and tell me, what? That girl healed from that disease? Yes. Yes. And if you're wondering when the last time I had an episode was, it was more than 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago. Interestingly enough, the lockdowns and crazy global experience that we all experienced together actually triggered an episode for me. But that's gonna be a whole nother video. Without further ado, I'll get into the 3 pillars, the 3 major things that helped me get to this point. So the first thing that really helped me was getting a good therapist, like a cognitive behavioral psychotherapist. And what's interesting is that when I first decided to go to a therapist, it had nothing to do with my cyclic vomiting syndrome. I basically, at the time, was told, you're gonna have to live with this forever, just learn how to manage it. And I took that at face value and said, yeah, this is me. I am now a diseased person, essentially disabled. I went to therapy because I was having like a lot of fights with my parents. I had moved back in with them and we were fighting a lot. And something compelled me to go to therapy. But it had nothing to do with the cyclic vomiting syndrome. I started to go to therapy, told her about the disease, and interestingly enough, my episodes started to become way more spaced apart. Not like from every other week to every other month, but I'm talking once I started going to a therapist, the episodes became every 6 months. Can you imagine? If you're in the throes of cyclic vomiting syndrome and you're going to the hospital monthly, even every other month, can you imagine going to the hospital only twice a year? It's crazy to think in these terms because healthy people can't even imagine. But when you're a victim of this disease, you're like, only twice a year? Oh, I would give a finger for that. Also, I'm choosing my words very carefully. When I say a good therapist, it's because there are bad therapists out there. I won't get into it in this video on how to choose a therapist or how to know if your therapist is good or bad. But I will say that going to a bad therapist can actually make it worse. The last point I'll make about going to a therapist is this. If you have this disease, you know somewhere, either consciously or in the back of your mind, that this disease has to do with a mind-body connection. You know that there are certain things that cause you to have an episode, that trigger an episode, that aren't just like, I ate chocolate, even though that's on the list of triggers, right? You know that there's something mentally that can trigger these episodes. And that can be both positive and negative events. So from my experience, I had negative events trigger these, like my grandmother's funeral. But I also had positive events trigger them, like my graduation. My college graduation, I missed it. And if you have this disease, you've probably missed a lot of really important things. Also, it was not necessarily positive or negative, but just stressful things. When I first got diagnosed, I was working a job as a writer, and I had very strict deadlines, and lo and behold, I would have episodes basically the day of or the day before a deadline, like clockwork. So by going to therapy, you might find that this person can help you restore your mind and body connection in a way that's a little more calm. The truth is that if you have this disease, your nervous system is sensitive. And so by going to therapy, you're kind of finding triggers, not even on purpose, right? You're just going there to get your mind right. But the secondary effect of getting your mind right is miraculously an improvement in this condition. The second thing that helped me heal is meds. So I'm sitting here kind of telling you that despite what doctors say and despite what the medical literature says, you can actually heal from this disease, right? But I don't want you to think that I'm some like alternative medicine, anti-healthcare kind of person, because I'm not. I think you should use all the resources at your disposal to better yourself, to get better. And one of those things is meds. So for me, my holy grail of meds when I'm not in an episode is Zofran. Zofran has helped me prevent episodes and has helped me stop episodes in their tracks. Of course, you know that one of the ways to get diagnosed with this, and one of the key telltale signs that you have this, is that medication like Zofran doesn't work when you're in the throes of an episode. But what I found is that outside of episodes, that medication helped me a lot. So I'll give you an example. I used to have certain prodrome symptoms before getting an episode. In a couple weeks leading up to it, it was just obvious to me. And so for those couple weeks, if I felt those symptoms on a certain day, I would take the Zofran before going to sleep, because my episodes started at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., like clockwork. I would wake up from the nausea and the episode would begin. So for me, taking the Zofran before going to sleep is what would help me. Anyway, whatever medication works for you, use it smartly, but use it. Lean on it. It's there for you. And hopefully, when you come out of this, because you can, if I can, you can, you won't need the medication anymore. The third major pillar of what helped me heal is self-care. Because this disease has so much to do with your nervous system and your mind and body connection, self-care is of utmost importance. Not just to manage it while you have it, but to slowly come out of it. And trust me, it's a process. It's taken me years to get here. It's not like, hey, you'll implement these 3 things that I'm telling you and poof, tomorrow you won't have CVS anymore. Honestly, I wish, I hope that for you. But I want to give you realistic expectations. It takes years. Like I said, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. But don't give up. What I mean by self-care is eating well, And I mean sensibly. I don't mean going on some crazy extreme diet like paleo or something I did. Something I tried in my desperate attempts to find anything that would help was an elimination diet, where you basically eliminate everything you could possibly eat and you slowly reintroduce things to see if your gut is sensitive to them. And sure, my gut is sensitive, like many people, to too much dairy, too much sugar, like who isn't? But at the end of the day, now that I'm out of it and I'm looking back, it really was the mind-body connection. It really was the getting your mind right and just healing over the years from all your stuff. Because now that I'm healed, I can drink a few lattes and yeah, I get bloated or, not feeling great, but it doesn't cause me an episode. It's just like a discomfort. It doesn't mean I'm now going to be in the hospital. Another major part of self-care, especially with this condition, is not overly stressing yourself. Take rest when you need it. If you need a mental health day from work, take it. I'm not saying to enable yourself and, treat yourself like you're a weakling who can't handle life. I want you to be confident in yourself. I want you to know that if you can handle this disease, you can handle so many things in life. Don't let this disease make you think you're weak. It's actually making you stronger. It's actually making you able to handle things that nobody could handle. It's testing your gratitude, right? While your friends complain that they have to go to work, you go, are you crazy? I wish I could even have the privilege of working. And that's a gratitude that other people don't have. Which brings me to my next self-care piece. It's having a positive mindset. And again, so much of this is about getting your mind right. And I don't mean like a fake positivity, like everything's great, even when it's not. Changing your mindset, changing your attitude, rewiring your brain into a more positive, grateful, resilient way of thinking is so helpful with this, because so much of it is with the mind and body connection. I want you to know that you're not alone. You're really not. And this can feel like such a lonely disease. It can feel like something nobody understands. Physically, it's not something the average person has experienced, so you try to explain it to them and they don't get it. Mentally, most people don't understand, what it's like to have this. It's something you're told is a life sentence, it's hard. It's really hard. And I want you to know that you're not alone and that there's hope. I'm not gonna lie and act like this is easy. This isn't like, go get a list of books that Oprah recommends about mindset and, eat a few more veggies and go to a couple months of therapy and you'll be good to go. It's not. It's not easy doing the work it takes to come out of this. But I want to ask you this. What is the alternative? Not doing the work? Not trying? Not facing your demons? Not practicing self-care? Not looking in the mirror and changing your mindset and changing the way you live, the way you think? I mean, what is the alternative? The alternative is to continue life the way it is right now. And honestly, when I think back about those years, it's an unbearable way to live. It really is. It often feels hopeless, and It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. I promise you. I hope that I've convinced you. Maybe if you're not convinced, I hope that I've planted a seed in your mind that you actually can come out of this disease. And it may not be exactly the way I did. It may be a different process for you. But the point is that if I could come out of it, if a few other people could come out of it, why can't you? You can too. Of course you can. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. If you want to just vent in the comments, let's talk about it. You're not alone, I promise you. Okay? Till the next video.